When you picture a bank regulator, you probably imagine someone in a suit in some stuffy conference room just drowning in stacks of paper and spreadsheets. And hey, for a long time you wouldn't have been wrong, but that picture is changing and fast. Today, we're talking about a massive revolution happening in financial oversight, and it's all being driven by some incredible database technology called SupTech.
And wow, this slide really just lays it all out, doesn't it? The difference is truly night and day. We've jumped from a world of occasional site visits and painstaking manual analysis to one where regulators have real-time dashboards and AI-driven insights. It's like going from a yearly checkup at the doctor's to wearing a fitness tracker that monitors your vitals 24/7. The whole philosophy has been turned on its head.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll get a feel for this new reality of supervision. Then we'll ask, what exactly is SupTech? We'll look under the hood at the data engine that fuels it, check out the advantage that AI brings to the table, and finally, we'll see how this all adds up to a massive shift from episodic to continuous oversight. Let's face it, the old model of just checking in every now and then, it just wasn't cutting it. In today's financial system, things move at lightning speed. A serious risk can pop up and spread in a matter of hours, not weeks. So regulators needed a way to keep a constant pulse on the system, to see the tiny ripples before they turn into tidal waves. This was the problem that technology had to solve. And that solution, that answer, is SupTech. This is the tech that allows regulators, really for the first time ever, to see what's happening across the entire financial landscape in almost real time. So let's get into it. What exactly is this stuff? At its heart, supervisory technology, or SupTech for short, is a suite of really advanced tools. But the two most important words on this slide are at scale and in real time. See, it's one thing to analyze a single report from one bank, but it's something else entirely to analyze thousands of them all at once and see how all the risks are connected. That's the real power we're talking about here. Okay, so how does it actually work? Well, it's a pretty neat four-step process. First, the system just drinks from a fire hose of data. It ingests tons of regulatory reports. Then, the clever part, it analyzes all that data to spot trends across the whole system. Third, it flags anything that looks, well, weird, anomalies, emerging risks, you name it. And finally, and this is key, it supports the human examiners. It gives them these incredible dashboards and tools to make smarter, faster decisions. So, you've got this powerful system, right? But every engine needs fuel, and in the world of SupTech, that fuel is data, a truly mind-boggling amount of it. So let's take a look at what's actually being pumped into this engine. We're talking about a whole mix of things. You've got your structured filings, which are kind of like the quarterly report cards for banks, but then you also have real-time liquidity data feeds streaming in constantly. It even pulls in the results from a bank's own internal risk models and analyzes trends from consumer complaint databases. Every single one of these streams flows into this enormous, interconnected supervisory database, creating this incredible, multi-dimensional picture of risk. Now, having all this data in one giant digital library is great, but how do you possibly make sense of it all? That's where artificial intelligence comes in. You can think of it as the brain of the whole operation, making human supervisors sharper and more focused than ever before. And the AI isn't just looking for obvious stuff. Its real superpower is detecting the subtle patterns that a human analyst might completely miss. It can instantly spot a bank that's behaving differently than its peers, find these hidden connections between activities that seem totally unrelated, and ultimately generate those crucial early warning signals that give regulators a head start. Now, this is a really, really important point. SupTech is not about replacing human regulators with some kind of robot. It's a tool that augments their expertise. The AI can flag a potential issue, but it still takes a seasoned examiner's judgment to dig in, understand the full story, and decide what to do. It just makes the experts way smarter and way faster. All right, so when you put all these pieces together, the massive database, the powerful AI, you get the single biggest change to financial oversight in a generation, a complete rewrite of the supervisory timeline itself. You know, this didn't just happen overnight. The seeds were planted after the 2008 financial crisis. But the real game changers came later. In the mid-2010s, cloud computing suddenly made it possible to store and process all this data affordable. Then came the big leaps in AI and machine learning, and finally, the pandemic basically forced the issue, making remote, data-driven supervision an absolute necessity. And that brings us right to the heart of it,
This is the ultimate takeaway. Supervision isn't a series of snapshots in time anymore. It's a continuous, flowing river of information. And that river is stored in a massive database, a living, breathing history of every transaction, every risk, and every ripple across the entire financial system.
So, this new reality leaves us with a pretty critical question. It's a question for the regulators, for sure, but also for the banks themselves. When oversight is instant and it's always on, the old playbook for managing risk just isn't going to work. So, what does it really take to stay ahead in a world that never, ever stops watching?